Good afternoon, everyone. You are joining our Moving Forward with Ease webinar with the focus on downsizing today. My name is Lisa Clark with RiverWoods, and we're going to give you a little bit of an overview on RiverWoods, and then we'll turn the baton over to Aaron DiCarlo, who will be guiding you through all the aspects of downsizing and getting ready for a move. So a few housekeeping items first. We have everyone on mute, but we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of the presentation. You will be able to submit those questions through the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a tablet, it may be at the side or the top of your screen. We ask you to hold off on asking questions until we get to the end of the presentation because we have probably incorporated a lot of those answers into our presentation. We always welcome your suggestions on how we can improve our webinars. So if you have an idea on a topic that you think would be of interest to you, then please let us know and we will explore that. As with most of our webinars, we do record them. You will receive a copy in the coming day or two that you can view again or share with friends. And then we always do post most of our webinars to our website, so you'll have an opportunity to find it there and redirect it to friends and family. So I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the RiverWoods story. I know many of you who are on the webinar today are already on our wait list, but we have a fair number of people who are not and may not be familiar with RiverWoods. RiverWoods was started by these two visionary women, Rosemary Coffin and Mariana Hatch. Back in the 1980s, they began planning for a place where they could meet friends, have access to activities, and not have to worry about their healthcare needs. So they began planning for RiverWoods in the early 1980s. And then in 1994, we opened our first community in Exeter. If you could advance the slide, please. So today we have actually three communities in New Hampshire. The original one is in Exeter. You're seeing three pictures under that because we actually have three campuses within our Exeter community. In 2016, we acquired a company, a retirement community from a company known as Birch Hill. Today it is known as RiverWoods Manchester. And then in 2019, we opened RiverWoods Durham. So all three of these communities share the same vision and values and provide you with access to healthcare when and if you need it. You move into all three of them as an independent living resident and then can progress to higher levels of care. Next slide, please. So for those of you who are not familiar with what a life plan community is, also known as a CCRC, which stands for Continuing Care Retirement Community. So a community like this is actually an insurance product. So when you decide to come live at RiverWoods, you're actually purchasing a long-term care insurance product. Because of that, our contracts are regulated by the state of New Hampshire. And we report our financial performance to the state. Essentially, when you come and live here in independent living, you are prepaying and insuring your future needs within assisted living, memory support, or nursing care. You do pay an entry fee when you move into the community, a portion of which may qualify for a tax deduction, and then a portion of your monthly fees may also qualify as a tax deduction. So coming to live at a continuing care retirement community like RiverWoods is really a lifestyle choice. So you do enter while you're living independently. We take care of all the maintenance, both inside and outside of your home. We provide transportation for you to get to medical appointments. We have a whole slate of activities and programs and continuing education opportunities, and really allows you to increase your social options versus what you would have access to if you were to remain at home. So really, it's a way of you kind of staying in control of your life while living in community. So it's really a terrific option for you to consider if you haven't already. So a couple things I want to update folks who may know a little or a lot about us is we are currently in the midst of planning for an expansion at our RiverWoods Durham campus. We're adding 55 more independent living residences. Some of you on the wait list may already have been considering that as an opportunity to move in a little bit sooner into that community. At RiverWoods Exeter, we're currently working on the Boulders campus renovation. So every 15 years, we do a cosmetic refresh on our campuses. So we are just at the beginning stages of renovating the Boulders. So it'll have a really fresh new look. So if you want to come see us towards the end of this year, you'll be able to see some of those changes at the Boulders. So if you've been looking at RiverWoods, but you're not on the wait list yet, we encourage you to do so soon because the wait list is growing, and happy to answer questions you have about that offline, because our focus today is really going to be on the topic of downsizing and getting ready for a move to RiverWoods. So if you'd like to advance the slide, I want to introduce our presenter today, Erin DiCarlo, who is the founder and president of Dovetail. And she really is an expert in, the downsizing topic, as well as many other aspects, I'm sure, of senior living, as well as real estate industry. So Erin, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. A big announcement at the beginning of this. I woke up without a voice this morning, so bear with me. I've had a lot of throat lozenges and honey and tea, but if I need to clear my throat as I go through today's presentation, thank you in advance for your grace. I have my water. I was home with the 4 kids over break last week, and they shared illnesses. And the nice gift they left behind when they all went back to school today was a mother without a voice. So here we are. Thank you for having me. My name's Erin DiCarlo. For 22 years, I've been supporting older adults and their families as they navigate this big life transition of considering a move to senior living. And it's no small feat. But today we're going to talk about how to take this transition in manageable bites so you can thrive on the other side of this at RiverWoods. Michelle McNall is our Director of Home Sale Services, and Sophia Milano, my amazing executive assistant. The reason I let you know who they are, depending on where you are in the process and what your unique individual needs are, you may connect with one of us if you reach out for a complimentary consultation. I am a certified senior advisor, an A+ accredited senior and specialty move manager. I'm also what's called a care manager, a dementia practitioner, but some new credentials that I brought this past year. I am what's called a neurosomatic practitioner, which is the mind-body connection, as well as an essential emotions coach, which is really helping people work through the heavy emotions that come along with these big life transitions. Helping people for the last 2 decades approach this process, it became evident to me that's the piece that we're missing. I think our society doesn't necessarily, and us New Englanders, we were built tough and we're just the type who kind of plow through and get things done. I've realized that when we approach the whole process, allow for emotions, allow for strategy, and taking this process in manageable bites, it becomes much more easier to manage. So there are really 4 phases to your transition process. The first, I would say, is the most important. That is your planning stage. That is where you're starting to consider your options, thinking through the legal and financial aspects of this transition. The second phase, which we'll talk about today, is what I like to call right sizing. I feel like the word downsizing has a bit of a negative connotation, but for so many of my clients over more than 2 decades, people are thriving on the other side of this process, and they're just creating a lifestyle that's more in alignment with their needs, and they're in a more right-sized option. And then after we make the decisions on what to do with our belongings, we actually have to get there. So that's the process of moving. They say death and moving are the 2 highest stressors in someone's life. And so our goal and what we've done very successfully for many clients at RiverWoods and other communities is ensuring your move also happens with less stress and ease. And then ultimately, and we won't talk too much about this today, but we do specialize. We're a listing exclusive team for mature sellers. Our only real estate services are supporting older adults with listing and selling their longtime home. And we have a very specific proven strategy on how to do that with ease as well. So I just want to welcome everyone to the idea and notion that if you are feeling overwhelmed here at today's program, you're in good company. I've been doing this for 22 years, and I have yet to meet one human that says, "Oh, great, let's go. My bags are packed." This process, just the nature of it, is highly emotional and logistically overwhelming. So I just want to say welcome to the party. You're in good company. And a lot of people are feeling stuck. If this wasn't a webinar, if we were in person, I usually do a show of hands on some of these emotions, and people feel good when they look around the room and know that they're not alone. And so what's important for you to know about that is that these heavy emotions can cause some friction that may slow down your decision making. So our rational brain may tell us, of course, I should move and get on the wait list and go to RiverWoods. It's the same brain that is the reason we don't all stick to our New Year's resolutions. Just because we know what's good for us doesn't mean it's easy for us to do the thing. And so hopefully today you will leave this program with some calm clarity. And when we come from a place of calm and we find some clarity, we're actually much more able to effectively take action. So today may feel like a lot of information. Please just roll with us. You don't need to take copious notes. We have downloadable guides. We can send you detailed information on this process, and we can send you the slides as well. So if you can just join me in bringing some presence today. I don't mean gifts. I mean just some awareness and openness to yourself so that you can increase that range of resonance for yourself. So some of this new information you can absorb and feel like you leave with one tangible, manageable next bite and not have to boil the ocean, as we say. So I want to talk about these big life transitions. It's more than just the doing of managing your belongings and packing boxes. There's a lot that comes into the process that you already may be feeling or starting to feel. One is the emotions we just talked about. Second is the identity. So many of us, our identity is tied to our home and the belongings in our home. If I am not the caretaker to my family in this home, who am I? I think of my husband. I'm looking out my window. We live on conservation land, and he spends hours and hours tending outside to the vegetable gardens and to the woods and the grounds. A lot of my husband's identity is the keeper of this land. And so just having some awareness and paying some reverence to there is some identity attachment to our home and our belongings and our environment. And we also feel a deep sense of control. This is our home and the environment that we have felt in control over for a really long time. And so just knowing that this process can be done in a way where you remain in control and that alone can start to alleviate. Sometimes when certain aspects of our life are feeling out of our control, we may over control other aspects. And that can be a hindrance that we'll talk about in the downsizing process. And what all of these things lead into is our need to feel safe. As human beings, our primal brain is just trying to keep us safe and alive. And our rational brain has nothing to do with that. So when things start changing quickly or heavy emotional belongings are being discarded or dealt with, sometimes we don't feel safe. And what happens when we don't feel safe is our body goes into what's called an F response: fight, flight, freeze, flop, or fawn. The reason I tell you that is be prepared when we start to talk about belongings to downsize that may have heavy emotional value for you. You may feel the need to argue or to just disassociate and deny and not deal with it. That's just it's called your amygdala. That's just your primal brain trying to keep you safe. So we're here to help you work through that to make steady progress in a way that feels really good. And then finally, which is interesting to me, it's the thing most people start with is there's logistics here. There's actual selling, donating, packing, discarding of items. But until we kind of work through those other bullet points, the logistics can't happen. I talked about this calm, clarity, and confident connection. I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but I've helped thousands of people in your position go through this process. So I sound like Oprah, but when I say this is what I know to be true, this is what I know to be true. That when we are calm and we can find some clarity, decisions become easier, conflict decreases, families and your support system align much faster, and the steps that you take are much more manageable. So I mentioned, and we're not going to do a deep dive, but high level overview. The first step of this process is creating your plan. I get calls every day from people who are like, "Hi, Erin, I need you to come help me deal with my China." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know." "Okay, great. Why are we talking about the China?" Or, "Hi, can you please come do a market analysis of my home?" "Sure, we'd be happy to. Where are you going?" "I have no idea. I haven't started that process, but someone told me the market's hot and I should sell my house." We're not going to do that yet. And so the first, and I would say most important part of this process, you need a good plan. A plan without, no, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And wishes, I wish we were like the Disney, all your dreams come true, a wish but a wish, or whatever it is. We're not. We're human beings with high emotions, and we need a strategy and plan to get from here to RiverWoods or wherever you're considering going. When you have a plan, and by the way, I recommend we create a few iterations of your plan because life is unpredictable and it's easy to pivot when we've already thought about the scenarios that may come. So when it comes to the complimentary consult, we always provide a complimentary consultation. The first part is just visioning with you. Like what makes your home, and what aspects of that can we recreate for you at RiverWoods? People are so caught up on square footage. It continues to blow my mind. Lisa, I'm sure you see this every day. I ask people to think about, for one moment, think about your day in your house. Wake up, wherever you go for your morning routine. What are you doing throughout the day, evening, and afternoon? I guarantee you the footprint, the pathway that you take in your home is not utilizing all of the square feet of that house. It's very intentionally using certain aspects of your environment that you can recreate in this new space. Not to mention, your home at any of the Riverwoods community, that apartment is like a bedroom on a 500 bedroom mansion, sprawling acreage. These environments are actually much larger than your home. When you look at the dining area, the common areas, the different places that you're engaging in, you are increasing your square footage tremendously. And so that's where I start this process with my clients. Help me get to know you. What does home feel like for you? And then what items in your home really deeply resonate for you? I have crafters. I have clients that are quilters or painters. Yes, we're going to intentionally create space in this new apartment for that hobby. But for the average person, they're usually shocked how much effective downsizing they can do just by starting with visioning their space, what they use now, and what they're deeply connected to. The other beautiful part of the planning phase that we do with our clients is, who do you want to be? So often, our current home and our current environment are actually limiting us to our full potential. We're held down, believe it or not, by our belongings and our space. They stress us out. There's heavy energy around that. And so when we envision about what could you do in this new environment with these engagement opportunities, and people start to envision that, your energy shifts. You start to get excited and you start to have what's called self-determination. You start to have an internal motivation to do the thing. This isn't in today's program, but I want to say this about the planning stage. If you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck, or maybe you're here because an adult child or a spouse is forcing you to consider this option, this is where the magic happens. When you can close your eyes and clearly state how you want your future to look and feel on your own with your own autonomy, and then start to envision how that's possible in a senior living community, specifically in RiverWoods, that's where your mindset starts to shift. When you feel the excitement of what can be, is when you start to feel the energy bubble up within you. Because this is a big task. I will never minimize this transition emotionally and logistically. But when you have the motivation to do it, it's much more manageable. So please don't rush through the planning stage or the visioning stage, because it's like creating a vision board. When the days get hard and I tell you we can only take 15 sweaters, not all 50, and we can remind ourselves about the life we'll be living, that's where that energy and that motivation becomes super helpful. I didn't even realize it says shifting your mindset, visioning. Okay. Everyone can tell I've been doing this for a long time. I'm going into my talking points here without realizing it. And also to remind yourself, because this can be emotionally heavy, there's going to be days where you're going to question your decision because you feel overwhelmed. And then you remind yourself about all that you're gaining. Yes, we may have to downsize your china or your sweaters, but your day-to-day life will be increasing, will be gaining so much that it justifies some of those hard decisions. A big piece of the planning process, I'm going to skip ahead for a second because it's coming up. This is a big piece of your planning process. Who is in your support network? I can send anyone who has, at the end, there's a QR code for a download for a guide. But if you fill that out, you can just email us back. If you need help building your support network, I have a very easy free worksheet I can send you on this. Who are the people that are supporting you? And this isn't just friends giving you advice. In the early stages of this process, everyone should have a quality estate plan, a financial advisor that's helping you crunch numbers, an amazing real estate advisor that on the early part of this process is giving you a fair market value on what is the price of your home. For many older adults, their home is one of their largest financial assets, and it really needs to work well for them at this next stage, because whether you're staying at home and aging in place or considering a retirement community, all of the options are expensive. And all of my clients need every dollar of their hard-earned equity to work well for them on this next step. So having these professionals in the support planning process is really important. Do you have, maybe for you, some of your closest support network are friends, family members? Are you a part of a faith-based organization? It's good to have the professionals. Those are some of the pillars of this transition and downsizing plan. But equally important are what I call your attractors. We all have attractors and detractors in our life. The attractors are the people that lift you up and say, good job, Mary. You didn't need all those sweaters. You haven't worn that ugly sweater in 10 years. Get rid of it. The detractors are the friends that say, oh, don't get rid of that. What are you doing? Why are you leaving your home? It's beautiful. You should stay there. Through this process, surround yourself with friends, family, connections who are in alignment with your plan and your vision. It's called co-regulation. You can tether to them. You can talk to the professionals you've enlisted in those moments of doubt or overwhelm to keep you moving steady, one small footstep at a time. I skipped over the medical there because RiverWoods, most of you are, aging well, healthy, independent, and active. However, part of aging, my grandfather used to say, this isn't the golden years. It's more like gold plated and it's all flaking off. Like the gold leafing is flaking off. So also just know if you're having any age-related changes, cognitive, physical, recent diagnosis, there are wonderful also medical professionals, care managers, care advocates that should be part of your plan. Even if you're healthy and active now, but you are maybe a solo ager or you were recently given a progressive diagnosis. There are professionals that exist that can help you for your long-term journey. Okay, I'm going to mention something that's very important with this downsizing conversation, and it throws people off sometimes the first time they hear this. But when possible, this is always our proven way for successful downsizing, moving, and selling. And it is our move first, sell later approach. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing this, you're not alone. Many times people say, what is she talking about? How can I do that? The process of moving into a senior living community, downsizing, preparing your home for the market, and listing and selling it all at the same time is completely overwhelming to any human being. So for a lot of our clients, what they do is they decide on their apartment at RiverWoods. We work with them on identifying what they're bringing, floor plan designing, getting them packed and moved and settled into their beautiful new home. And then back at the home, we are managing estate sales, donation coordination, and clean out services. This process, if it can be taken this way for you, makes everything easier because you're able to literally cherry pick the items that you want to bring with you. And this is when we get to really get excited with you and vision. You're picking your different furniture, your paint colors. People's energy gets really excited. And then while you're enjoying your new life with your new engagement, new friends, great food, with ease, we're managing estate sale, donation, clean out services back at your house without you living through the chaos. And then we're preparing the home for the market. Most homes need a fresh coat of paint, or maybe we're, doing new carpet, whatever it may be for your individual situation, for you to receive that top dollar resale value. But your home sells faster and for much more money when you and your belongings are not there. Now, you may say, how do I pay for this? If you're planning on using the equity from the sale of your home to go to RiverWoods, we have multiple funding solutions and strategy that we use with our clients. Remember, I said we meet with your estate planner and your financial advisor at the first part of this process. We're talking through all of this. So if you're someone who can't move first and sell later, and that happens sometimes, we have a strategy for that too. There's still a way to do this in a strategic way that doesn't completely disrupt and overwhelm your life. Things like the basement, the attic, the garage. There's areas that we can be tackling alongside of you that aren't completely disrupting your current situation. Oh, I even talked about the funding a little bit. So some people are taking out a home equity line of credit, a bridge loan. We've had multiple successful retirement account loans where you can take from your IRA as long as the funds are returned to the account within 100 days. And there's ways for us to be very strategic in that so that everything lines up, that the listing and closing and funds are returned back to your IRA. Because everyone's situation is unique and different, that's why we always offer a complimentary consultation. This is very specific and unique to each individual. So let's get into the downsizing nitty-gritties. You are the heart of your home. Your home is more than bricks and mortar, and the belongings, I think this is where people miss the most in real estate and other maybe moving experts. The emotions were more than bricks and mortar. The emotions are woven into the belongings of our home. So many people, and you can think about your own home when you look around at what's in your house. It's not just what you've accumulated. Usually you may be the steward of many generations of belongings, and you feel like, well, if I'm not the one to hang on to these, who will? And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Your kids and grandkids usually don't want the things you think that they'll take. I'm going to talk about that in a second. That's the legacy leaving, the legacy portion. Oftentimes photos, heirloom pieces of furniture, that is about the traditions. It's never about the thing. It's about the traditions. But here's the beautiful part. If you can tell the story of the item to your family, that's the cathartic part of this process that you need and deserve in order to be comfortable moving on from the home and from the belongings in the home. It's about the stories that are attached to the items. And so, in order to do this well, we need time. Time is the secret sauce to successful downsizing and these transitions. So, when do I start this process? The longer the runway, the better the outcome. When you have time, like I always say back in October, October is a great time to work with your family to say, listen, we're thinking about an upcoming transition. We need to downsize. Come to the house, like if they're coming for Thanksgiving or another holiday, come and pick the items that you like. The best first step in downsizing is asking your family what they may want to keep. Because, by the way, they're going to pick things that you'll be shocked. I always tell this story. My grandmother, my nanny, my closest person, loved and adored her. She's the reason why I started Dovetail 22 years ago. She wore these chintzy plastic enamel bangle bracelets all the time, all different colors. They were probably from the 60s or 70s. And as a child, I loved her bracelets. I would play dress up with them. I can still hear her bangles clinking together while she would brush my hair and make me breakfast. And when my dear grandmother passed away, my family gave me her beautiful engagement ring from my Irish great grandmother. But I said, I was so excited for her bangles. I said, where are her plastic bracelets? And everybody said, those are junk. We threw them away. And I was devastated. To me, that's like the one thing in the house I wanted. No one would have known that. So ask your family, what are they attached to? Let them tell you. The other thing with a long runway is you have time to plan and we have time to bring in for you the aligned resources for the very specific items that you have. I would have a show of hands right now, but like how many of you have a unique collection of something? And every time I say I've seen every type of collection over the last 22 years, I'm surprised. I come across new scenarios. But we need time. If you have a unique collection, I promise you, there is someone out there who is interested in buying your collection, or there's an organization you can donate your specific collection to people who will love to reuse it. But it takes time. The worst thing that I see happen all the time is people wait too long, then they're in a crisis and a rush to downsize, and they don't feel good about what's happening to their items. And that does not set you up for successful residency on the other side of this process. If we have a nice long runway and you have time to process your emotions through the downsizing experience, and you feel really good about your home being shown in the best light and being sold for top dollar, you're going to move in with a nice strong foundation under you to start living your best life day one. If this feels rushed and you feel like stuff was thrown out or things were given away that could have been sold and the house didn't look great and you're embarrassed for the neighbors to see it, there's a different energy on the other side of this process. And we can avoid all of that by having a nice long runway. So one of the biggest pieces of this process and thinking about what to downsize is how you're going to use your new space. So this is where I think it gets fun. And this is why it's so important to have a third party, at least a complimentary consultation, even if you don't hire anyone. We've done this so many times. We can identify, ooh, look at that piece of furniture. Tell me about that. Items that can be reused and repurposed in a new way and bring new light into a space. One of the most genius pieces of furniture I've seen reused is the bottom of your hutch, your buffet server. Has great storage. It's usually many older adults have quality, solid mahogany French provincial furniture that will last a lifetime. That makes a beautiful TV console. So forget it if you don't have the big dining room. That's a great piece for under. So you hang your TV and underneath you can have all of these drawers of storage. Use the top to display your pictures. So we help you get creative in how to use this new space. So what serves you now? There's going to be items in your home that continue to serve you well. However, there's things that won't continue to serve you. So maybe you're someone that's always hosted the large holiday meals And maybe you can still do that at RiverWoods in their community dining room, but you don't need the service for 12. But if you love your china, I encourage take service for 4. Bring your china to your apartment. We can right size. It doesn't have to get rid of the whole china set. We can keep what continues to serve us. Um, really thinking through what do you need? You're going to continue to live your life. If anything, you're going to live your life more fully. I've had clients who maybe there were snowshoes that have been in the basement for 10 years that they're bringing with them because there's outdoor walking paths that they didn't have before. So, whoever, I always say, like, whoever you used to be, you can step back into that in some ways in community living. So, thinking about what continues to serve you, what could serve you that hasn't served you recently, and how are you going to continue to live your life? The other thing we have to think about is, I hate the word declutter, depersonalizing your home. So if you are someone that is going to stay in your home through the listing and selling process, we need to do some depersonalization of your space. And we can pre-pack. That's the other thing. I don't want anyone to live through, if you're on the wait list and you're not moving for a year or two, I'm never going to encourage someone to fully downsize and live in a barren environment. What we can do is make decisions and plan so that when RiverWoods calls, we know what we can do and what we can execute on. But some people, back to that, first finding calm and then clarity. Some people are so anxious and overwhelmed that they do too much too early on. And that can be a detriment. That doesn't help keep that self-motivation. People start to get frustrated and burnt out. Lisa, I'm sure you see on your end, that's when you're getting the panic calls like, I'm ready to go. Do you have an apartment yet? So there's a dance we do with downsizing. What's enough to make you feel good and that you're ready to go, but enough that you can continue to live your life and celebrate where you currently are. Okay, so once we've made those decisions, now it's into what we call right sizing 2.0. This is the doing. And I'm going to reiterate it again. And I know if it sounds crazy, if this is the first time you're hearing it, call me, we'll talk about it. This is easy if you've packed and moved and settled into your new space. We come in, we manage an estate sale, we sell what we can sell, fine art appraisers. This is highly specific to your unique situation and your belongings. Whatever is not sold, we then donate. I want to take a minute and really talk about donation. First and foremost, many times we can have more of a donation tax write-off than we could sell the item for. And when you have a home full of belongings, it's tens of thousands of dollars in a tax write-off for your estate. So back to what I mentioned in the plan, we're talking to your estate planner, your CPA, your financial advisor way before we do this, because in some cases it makes more sense for you to donate versus having an estate sale for the tax. So capital gains taxes, we're talking about all of that. So we have this nice plan ahead of time. Second part of donation isn't just the tax write-off. Your belongings can have a second chance at life. There are so many amazing organizations that we work with where your donated belongings really help people, from battered women's shelters, refugee homes, um, inner city shelters. We have so many companies we work with where your tax write-off donation is really helping families. I have seen firsthand, there's one company where they have a huge warehouse, all the donations go there, and people come and shop for free. So I've seen refugee families crying over the beautiful china they now get to use as their daily dishware. So just know there's a beautiful gift in your donation that people are receiving. And then gifting. I talked about friends and family. I just had a client recently in Newbury, Massachusetts. They moved to California to be closer to their daughter, but she was a teacup collector. She had, I don't know, probably 100 sets of teacups and saucers, but she hosted a women's monthly book group. So like 6 months before her move, every month at her book club, she asked the ladies to take a teacup. And so I thought that was such a beautiful way to gift her items. I have another client who he got so excited about right sizing, and he had a long runway. He could have been up to 3 years on a wait list. But when we started, this is what happens. You start doing small things like your sweaters, and you're like, ooh, I can do that. What's next? I'm going to do my pots and pans this weekend. But for him, he took a plastic donation bin, put it by the front door, and every time he brought something into the house, he donated something out. And he would text us pictures of his bin. Like, look what I'm bringing to Savers this week. So gifting and donating continuously is a really manageable way. If any of you are on the wait list and are feeling like antsy, like you need to start doing some of this, I'm going to get into that next. So, selling. The reason we put real estate advisors, depending on who do you choose to work with for a realtor, some advise that you keep certain furniture for staging your home. We don't. You've heard my move first, sell later recommendation. I believe buyers like to see a fully cleaned out home, fully staged, not with bits and pieces of furniture. So, but if you're using someone else, talk to them first. I also think, by the way, um, it's an additional cost you don't need to incur. So we do the donations and the clear out in one fell swoop. If you're hanging on to items that somebody then has to come back and take and clear out, that's an additional downsizing expense. But there's always specialty buyers. So if you have a doll collection or antique books or military, maybe you've inherited your father's or great grandfather's, Civil War, World War II, you have military paraphernalia, handguns. I usually don't say this on a downsizing presentation, but it just came to me. So many people have guns. It's There are buyers for those guns. They're depending on the type of firearm. There's a whole protocol on how to manage firearms. So this is why you need time for this. I have also been in emergency situations where we're doing a clear out and there's an undisclosed firearm. That is a very different process. That's a call to the police who come and remove it safely. Auctions and estate sales. Sometimes it does make sense to have a full traditional estate sale for you. Depending on the type of items you have, kind of the parameter for this is that you need about $10,000 of sellable items in order to hire a true in-person estate sale company. But a beautiful opportunity now is online estate sales, where they put like items with like items into like an online auction and they sell everything. Some of these companies' bids start at $1. And yes, people will buy your junk drawer for $1. And if someone will pay us to clear out your junk drawer, we just saved money on your ultimate clear out. And so once we get to know you and see your home and the types of items in your home, we're making those recommendations on what vendors are best used for your situation and items. Creative selling. Sometimes maybe you have silver and a jewelry, but that's the extent of your nice items. Then the private buyer can buy those items while we use a different vendor for something else. Friends and family, we use a color-coded sticker program. A lot of our partnered move manager companies do the same. This can be fun. I mentioned when family comes, like for holidays, everybody can get color stickers for I'm pink, Lisa's blue, Kaylee's yellow, and we go around and put stickers on the items we're interested in. Then it gets really fun when multiple people put stickers on the same thing. We have a process on how to handle that, but this is where we can make the right sizing and downsizing. By the way, if you do that, I always tell your children, take it with you when you leave. I can't tell you how many times the downsizing process is stalled or halted because, oh, my daughter's going to come and get her full bedroom set. When? So if you know there's items in your home that children want, have them come and take it now. That opens up free space for us to use those spaces when it comes time to an estate sale or donation coordination, where we're putting like items with like items. Okay. I already talked about the second chance at life. Disposal and discarding. There's always some items that we can't sell or donate and you're not taking. Hazardous waste, there's just some trash. However, it is a rare occasion that we are getting a dumpster and just throwing stuff away. Most clients are surprised how much we don't throw away. Unless it's a hoarding situation, we refer to that as abundance management here at Dovetail. If any of you are in need and feeling either shame or overwhelm in a hoarding or an abundance management situation, please don't. We have amazing resources for you. Please don't feel stuck. But for most people, it's a small clean out at the end. I love this time of year because every spring, almost every local municipality has a hazardous waste day, a paper shredding day, technology, paint cans. Look into your local town spring days for removal of those items. It's far less expensive than what we have to pay our junk removal people to remove those things. So this is a really good time of year. Just call your town hall and ask what is offered this spring for disposal or removal. Great time for go into your shed. I know it's beautiful today, but it's still winter. But if you're listening to this at a different time of year, go out into the shed, all the chemicals that you haven't used, the old gasoline, the oil, paint cans, fill them with kitty litter. Let that absorb up and you can get it ready. All of your old medication. These are all things you can be doing now. You have a really simple strategy that minimizes the decision fatigue. It's called the 80-20 rule. So this is just a fact, 80% of the time, we as humans only use 20% of our stuff. So I'll give you a perfect example. If everyone after this call goes to their bathroom linen closet, either under the sink or in your linen closet, and look at your stack of towels. If you have a stack behind the stack or a stack next to the stack, ask yourself, when is the last time you touched those towels? We tend to use the same ones over and over, wash, dry, fold, and return. You could take all of the additional towel stacks today, put them in a bag, and donate them. Ooh, a great place to donate towels and linens, old towels and linens, is your local animal rescue. They all need used towels and linens for their puppies and cats. So that's a great place to donate old linens. Also, shelters can use towels and linens. But the reality is 80% of the time we use 20% of our stuff. So this is, if you're a DIY person and you want to take this downsizing journey on your own and not enlist the help of a move manager, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take like items and put them with like items and then apply this rule. So let's do sweaters just to start. You're going to take sweaters from everywhere you have them in your house and put them on the bed. So from your closet, from your hope chest, from your dresser, from your spare bedroom closet, like wherever you have sweaters in your home, put every sweater you own on your bed. And then remove the ones that you wear all the time. That's going to leave about 80% of your sweaters left. Now, will you discard all of them? Probably not. Pick out the holiday sweater you do use once a year, and maybe there's a couple more. But most people can have a 50% deduction in their belongings by applying this simple strategy. And here's the thing, after you do your sweaters this Saturday afternoon, one, I'd love to hear your success stories if you actually do this. But two, then you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. Honey, get the slacks. Let's do the slacks. So go get all the pants everywhere in your house. You can apply this to everything, all of your linens, all of your clothing. The kitchen's fun. I always say we're in New England. We like lobster, and I married into a big, large Italian family. So yes, my mother-in-law cooks her pasta and meatball in a lobster pot. But go to your kitchen and take out all of your large pots and pans and put them on the dining room table or your kitchen island. Usually, all of your pots and pans are not in one space. You may have taken one from the front hall hallway closet, one from the basement. Maybe you keep some in the garage. You downsize and you keep one of those large pots. You just made downsizing progress in the front hall closet, in the basement, in the garage, and in your kitchen. So the secret here, remember, like items with like items, and then apply the 80-20 rule. You're going to be cooking with gas before you know it. Joe Scott, by the way, who's done this presentation in the past, if you've been here, that was his personal story about the pots, where he kept them in the house and when he was downsizing. So it works. It was his own story. Joe also always says, and I love this quote, don't try to boil the ocean. You could say, you know what, Erin, I'm feeling motivated. I'm going to go clean out my basement this weekend. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to go down to the basement. You're going to stumble upon a box of old photos, and we're going to go down memory lane, and nothing's going to get done. So don't try to do too much. Develop a plan, create that inventory of like items, and then apply the 80-20 rule. Don't try to do it all. Please know the value in asking for help. I mentioned we provide complimentary consultations, and so do our preferred partners that we work with. Sometimes you just need to hear you're doing a good job and you can do it on your own. Other times you may make the determination, that's not a great use of my time. Yes, please come and help me manage my downsizing. Also, just knowing the value of the resources, and we're happy to guide you with resources if you need a really good clean out company or a company to donate to. We have vetted, for 22 years, vetted the expert resources in the area. Please know the value of your home. Real estate agents are like attorneys, just have bad raps. I always say any fully commissioned industry, you should have a lot of questions about. What you'll get here at Dovetail is truly no pressure. Part of the planning process is know the value of your home so that you're making strategic decisions along the way, even if you don't choose to use us. We're not offended, but we are offended if people don't tap into the resources to make sure they're making their own informed decisions each steps of the way. Know the realities of right sizing. Please don't minimize this. That's another thing I hear a lot, like, oh, I can do this. I moved into this house 40 years ago on my own. I can move out of it on my own. It's a lot. It's heavy emotions. Know what your limits are. Um, have the reality that not everyone wants to necessarily buy your items. We can tell you and help you identify the value of those items. Unfortunately, and I really hope we see a change in this soon, so many people are downsizing that the market is flooded with beautiful, high quality, what we call brown furniture. Ethan Allen, French provincial, I mean, beautiful furniture. And younger people are buying particle board, white IKEA furniture that falls apart. It's ridiculous. So just know we might not be able to sell it, but we could potentially donate it. What is selling for top dollar is mid-century modern furniture. So if you're someone who has any Scandinavian or mid-century modern furniture, that is selling like hotcakes. So don't just donate that. That's the other value in a consultation is we can identify, don't just give away or donate. There's a certain company, 1-800-we blah, 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 where you pay thousands of dollars and they sell your items. So you sell your items. Don't give your stuff away because some of it may have hidden value. So planning, right sizing, managing your move, and then preparing your home to sell. This is the process. And please don't try to do it all at once. It's too much. You could get through it, but you're going to end up really unsteady on the other end. We have time to take this in manageable bites. So this is our complimentary guide. If you are on your phone watching this session, so you can't use a QR code, you can just, wherever you RSVP'd for this, just say guide, please, and we'll make sure we get your email and send it over to you. We always offer a 15-minute complimentary clarity phone call to even see if you would need additional support. And then we offer an in-person complimentary consultation as well. Thank you for putting up with my voice or lack of voice. I normally don't sound like this, but it's never too soon to start the conversation. So Lisa, back to you, and we'll open it up for questions.
That's great. Thanks so much, Erin. I am certainly motivated to tackle bath towels this weekend because they do tend to multiply. So thank you for that tip. So we have a few questions in our queue. If you do have questions, you can enter them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We're going to start off with this one. What are the key priorities in 60 days before moving into RiverWoods? If I've already identified my real estate agent and I've already downsized, wow, ahead of the game. What should she focus on, Erin?
I was actually going to ask you, Lisa, meaning what is required on your end pre-move-in? Like, are there selections that need to be made? So I'll answer my question, but I don't know if there's anything on yours before I dive in.
We do a lot of our planning work kind of when we're offering the apartment, which is roughly
Okay.
60 days beforehand. We make all those decisions on finishes um, during that, at the front end of that
Okay,
schedule.
great. So first and foremost, it's just some nuts and bolts on contacting all of your institutions. So there's the change of address form, which is done. Give yourself, by the way, 2 to 3 weeks. It takes a while for that to come into place, but making sure that you've contacted any of your, institutions, letting them know that you're having a move. You need to talk to your homeowner's insurance. Some policies require a rider if your home will be vacant. The question didn't say if it was under contract already. So the hardest part about that 60 days is like lining up the closing with your move. So if you're able to move first and then list and sell your home, that's obviously ideal. But making sure that your real estate agent, if you're having to sell at the same time and trying to close in the next 60 days to move, making sure your agent is putting in the listing disclosure and negotiations that you have the right to choose the closing date. We've had people, Lisa, I'm sure you, or like sleeping in hotels and like stuff's having to be moved into storage for a week or two. So making sure that ahead of time your agent is protecting you on closing timeframes so that it can all line up perfectly so you're not having to make two different moves. So homeowners insurance, change of address, making sure your listing agent is ahead of that. And I think you're in good shape. Also, just confirming your floor plan design. The worst thing that can happen is you show up with too much stuff. So you've already downsized, but just reiterating your floor plan to make sure that that's all going to fit perfectly. All I
Great.
have.
And to that point, because I think we have a question later on in the queue about getting details about the apartment, so that you know what to keep. We do have scaled floor plans of all of our apartments, along with furniture cutouts. So some people we give those to you when we offer you the apartment. If you're listed for multiple styles, or a lot of styles, it doesn't make a lot of sense to kind of be looking at every possibility. But as you're getting closer and you have an idea of what you may be offered, we can give you a scaled floor plan so you can start playing with what furniture you may want to keep in that.
Lisa, while you're going through the questions, I'm going to just pull up a sample floor plan so people can see what we're talking about while we're going through here.
Okay. We also have a question about your service area, what states you work in, Erin.
So our team is in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, but I work with partnered move managers and realtors in every state in this country. So I train move managers, care managers, and real estate agents all over the country. So I make sure that the people I'm bringing into your unique situation are vetted and aligned with this approach and process. But our team is New Hampshire and Massachusetts.
Great, great. While we're going through the questions, can you put up the QR code again, please? We've had a couple requests for
Thank you.
people who didn't quite get to that. And when you put up that slide, we'll go ahead and
Sure.
continue on with and we also have some slides after that that I'm going to want to speak to, Erin, after we
Sure.
get through some of these questions. So let's see. We have a question about we talked about the service areas. We have does a home sell better furnished or unfurnished, Aaron?
Unfurnished, and here's why. Even though we only work for you, the seller, you and I have to understand the mind of a buyer because that's who we want to purchase our home, correct? So when I'm a buyer and I'm walking through your home and the other homes I'm considering, if your home is vacant, clean, maybe a fresh coat of paint and the floor is done or whatever, and the other three homes I looked at have furniture and stuff, it's really hard for people to envision their things. Most people, whatever you have in your home for furniture is not what they're going to have. People just have different designs and preferences. So when they see a clean slate, so we do what's called virtual staging. So all of your home looks fully staged online. And then when people are coming in, they can envision their own belongings there. Their mind says, hey, honey, we can move literally right in. There's nothing here. Like we can move right in with our stuff because there's far less homes for sale than there are buyers. There are lots of buyers who are living with family. Their stuff's in storage. So their psychology says for you against the other competition, it's ready to like literally move in ready, which creates that excitement in the buyer pool to choose your house over the other three down the street that have furniture and belongings. So we say empty, virtually staged, cleaned and ready to go is always the best way possible.
Great, thank you. So let's see. We have a question about where to donate a like new Broyhill sleep sofa in New Hampshire. Are there any
Beautiful.
organizations that would take that?
There are, but is it just that? Meaning, do you also have clothing and other items? So, um, if you can send me an email, Erin, Erin, at Dovetail Companies, all spelled out, DovetailCompanies.com. Erin at Dovetail Companies, New Hampshire sleeper sofa. And then just let me know if there's other items because most organizations will take more than just one thing.
Great, thank you.
You're
We have
welcome.
a question about hiring movers for unpacking and unpacking. Is that recommended?
Yes. So depends on the mover. Um, so okay, so there's a variety of ways to go here. Not all movers are created equal. Some movers are just luggers. They're here to like lift boxes and furniture. They're not great at packing and unpacking. This is what's called a senior and specialty move manager. They're the ones that are taking a picture, for example, of your curio ahead of time, packing up the details, and then unpacking the curio to look the same as it did in your home before. So it depends on how much packing and unpacking you need. Like, for example, we have a team at Gentle Giant who does a lot of packing and unpacking with our team. So like that specific team within Gentle Giant has been trained to do this. So if you don't want a move manager level of handhold, hanging artwork, floor plan designing, and you just need a good mover who can pack and unpack you, I can give you that recommendation. But I wouldn't call just Joe Schmo mover. They just leave boxes that make no logistical sense, and your unpacking can take weeks.
Okay, great. I'm going to answer one last question. Many of the other questions in the queue are related to specific areas of coverage. So, Aaron, I think your team can probably reach out to these folks
Yeah.
with those answers. I want to answer a question about what is the average age people begin this process or start considering right sizing or moving into community living? Are there minimum age restrictions? I'll answer that from the RiverWoods perspective. We do have a minimum age of 62 for moving into the community as well as for getting onto our wait list. However, the average age of people moving into the community is 78. And I don't know if you, Aaron, have anything to.
So, this is a fun fact about me. I never ask anyone their age, and here's why. It is an irrelevant piece of information. You can be 70 years old and frail and failing. My dad actually passed away this summer at 71. You could be 95 running the Boston Marathon, living your best life. And so I don't say that to minimize age. I just tell you that the journey is so unique and different for everyone. And I stopped asking the number because I found that it's not relevant. So whether you're 62, 82, 92, what I can tell you is I've seen people at all of those ages thriving at RiverWoods on the other side of this transition.
Great. Thank you. All right, we have one more slide here, Aaron, that I wanted to present. If we didn't get to your question, we'll follow up with you offline. We try to keep these presentations to an hour. We do have another event coming up on March 19th, featuring Bill Weidecker with Keller Williams. Once a year, we try to do a real estate update, and Bill is terrific at that task. You can go to our website and register for that on the event is Thursday, March 19th. Aaron, I would like to thank you for your time and expertise today. We will be sending out a recording of this event to all of you, as well as those who didn't show today but did register. And again, it will be up on our website. So in the next day or two, you'll get the recording from us, listen to it again for inspiration. And we thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day leading up into the weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.